We did 2 fairy tales in 2011, Three Little Pigs and Cinderella, and then we've been doing some other stuff. We've done some life science stuff, which I thought about demoing for you, but it's out there. It's called Rand's Parker Penguin and Rand's Franklin Frog. And we did a couple of other things last year. We feel that we want to do something that pushes things even further than Cinderella, and I just wanted to show you one screen, really, from this. This is Little Red Riding Hood. So the wolf went on his way, and this will be highlighted, and there will be audio here, and Little Red Riding Hood came to a fork in the path. And in this Little Red Riding Hood, we're looking at her making a sequence of decisions in the course of the act, which will influence how she'll collect objects, and those objects which she'll collect in a game context will then impact on how she defeats the wolf at the end. She does always defeat the wolf, she's never eaten. No little girls were harmed in the making of this act. So, but that's Little Red Riding Hood. So if I can drag her here, and she'll go off in one direction, flowers, and she's picking flowers in that case, but if I had taken her in the other direction, we would have gone to feathers. It's not necessarily being terribly happy at the moment, but it would go to take us to feathers, and that's different. She's not gone very far before she saw a beautiful bird above her in the sky. As the thing becomes more responsive, I'll be able to find that bird. So depending on the path I take, and there's multiple scenes within that. So that's an attempt to do multi-track, I guess, as a fully animated, almost choose-your-own-adventure sort of model for fairy tales. So that's one thing I wanted to show, and then the other thing is so low-tech, but I just thought it might be amusing. This is a book. Gordon Highland knows it is a book.
What's that?
We publish books. And this is a book called The Princess and the Peas, and it's a straight picture flat. But inside the front cover, there is, as you can see, a QR code, and it says, scan this QR code on your smartphone for a free audio reading of this book.
That's nice.
It's called Stories Aloud, and if you want to look at it on our website, if you go to www.nosepro.com, it will be demoed rather better than I'm managing to do it now.
Kate, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
So, are you doing this, the QR codes with a number of your different print books?
We do it with all of our picture books.
Okay.
Is the plan. But you know, we're small, but we'll do 50 books this year. So we're not that, you know, we've got, I guess, a backlog of about 30 books, which we publish in the US-wide Candlewick Press, actually, under a Nosy Crow imprint. So part of this was about a branding exercise, but it was also about thinking about how you... I'm concerned about the future of bookshops, honestly, and I'm concerned that a lot of independent bookshops are really struggling to find ways where they can have a digital offering as part of what it is that they offer, and on days that this works, which obviously demonstrated it's complete failure, then you're enabling them to give something digital as well as their print offering. And I hope that would, I'm interested to know whether or not other people will do it, and we've just launched it, so it'll be interesting to see whether it's picked up by some other people. But it felt like a way of including a community of people who are very supportive of literacy and reading in a digital offering without them having to work out how to deliver it themselves, without them having to have an infrastructure to deliver it. It's
what do you think of the QR code embedded in the storybooks?
Bundle digital with bundle digital audio with print. These are professional. If anyone knows the apps, it's kids' voices again. Music is composed. You know, we have music specially composed for these.
Okay. What do you think of that concept of embedding QR codes in picture books?
Right, make this guy in that?
Interesting. Split. There's a significant split, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a bimodal distribution.
Yeah.
We need to have a debate. I think it's fuzzy but very interesting. There are 5 letters.
It seems like there's also a lot of possibilities. We could go beyond just the talking and music, and
yes,
you could bring other stuff on.
I should emphasize these are free. I mean, this is
right.
but this is, I guess, if it's anything, it's a marketing exercise. They're getting a digital component for the same price that they would get a standard paperback. I mean, in our case, paperback.
I like the fact that it uses standalone equipment and it's an add-on. The book works perfectly fine.
Absolutely perfectly fine.
Technology, batteries, but if you happen to have a smartphone, which everyone has, and you happen to have one of the apps, all of a sudden work.
Oh, sorry.
Question or comment?
Sure.
I just have a comment. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I see this need both for me as an adult, like having a paperback book that I really want to read at home in bed, but then I'm out traveling and I bring a few books. I'm not going to bring these into my suitcase to New York and New Jersey all the way from China. I really want to have them on the iPad and then just look into them and find some stuff that was on there. So from an adult point of view, I see that need. And in our family, I see the same thing. We have the favorite goodnight books. We travel to Thailand and we want to read them there, and I bring the iPad. I don't bring all the books. So I think it's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea.
The Kindle app already has, on which you can obviously have on your iPhone or you can use on a Kindle, has often got text to voice automatically. But that's a very flat, non-performed voice, and I think that's really inappropriate for kids. These marvelous audio things, which I can't demonstrate, have music and they've got sound effects. So we did do something that was more dramatized. That's expensive to do, and to do that for an adult book would be, I mean, that's a lot of cost. If and even for a chapter book, you're talking about taking kids into the studio for hours and hours, and you can't take kids into the studio for hours and hours, so you have to have them go away and come back.
But multiple languages could be kind of cool.
Multiple languages are something that we look at all the time, but on the other hand, I find languages are the way that we can finance a lot of what it is we do. We sell rights in a lot of languages, and certainly our French partner publisher will be doing this in French.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What I really love about the Red Riding Hood story, the multi-path, is that something that you're doing in all of your stories, or is it specifically inspired by that content, which is about sort of getting lost in the forest? And if you can explain how she uses, like, does she tickle him with the feather? Does he sneeze with the flowers? Like, that's a really nice touch.
Two objects that delay him and one that defeats him, one way or another. So
Yeah.
So that there's two delayers and one defeater, and she picks up the two delayers in order, and then. But it does mean that every story could be, every reading of that, or 12 readings of that story could be slightly different.
Yeah, it's a nice touch, particularly for that story, which involves sort of getting lost.
I think that's a really interesting point. When we're trying to make these, actually, and this may come up with Barbara, the panel I'm with Barbara, we're trying not to shoehorn in all the technology tools that we have for each app. We're saying, okay, the mirror really works in our Cinderella app because that's an app that's partly about appearance. The chore doing in Cinderella works because it's partly about doing chores. Touching something and having it transform works because that's what that story's about. You have to. I'm interested in thinking about how you use the interactivity to match the story and to further the story. And so I won't be shoehorning necessarily multipath into absolutely everything.
Unless it's a story about shoehorning.
Unless it's a story about
Thank you, Kate.